all of a sudden it got like way up in my grill. Should we open this? Or no? You guys have some overhead light.
Too much of a difference.
It's got a little light on the faux head. Throw these on. Put my stunner shades on. Put my stunner shades on. I'm so glad you're recording. It's so embarrassing. That's gonna be a great intro.
Good job.
Yeah.
Impressed with your vibe.
Yo, what up, guys? It's Gary Vee, and it's time for the Daily Bread.
Give us our daily bread. I want the whole basket, cause I'ma hustle till I get it or I'm in a casket. Passionate for providing value in every way, not cashing in for providing value every day. Paying it forward, right thing, I'll do it till I'm dead. I hope you're hungry cause it's time for the daily bread.
Well, TJ, I'm not sure what happened with the CES machine last night, but I did not sleep 1 hour.
You didn't sleep at all?
Not one. All right. Meeting number 1, 9 a.m. No sleep, no food, no problem. All right. Sold 19 policies so far today. It's another solid day. Got one more meeting left, and I'm tired. Alright, headed into the last meeting of the day. Got 19 policies sold so far. Let's see if we can't tap on some extras. Finish strong. I think I've already passed my 75 goal for the week. Minutes, I will be 71 hours into my 3-day fast. So I'm into the last hour.
Oh, dude, that's awesome.
All I've had is water for
That's
what?
fantastic.
Like literally.
Keto?
Yeah, I've only done 2 today. I'm about to do my 3rd. I only did 2 yesterday. I did 4 the day before. The last meal was 8 o'clock Saturday or Sunday night.
That's awesome. Dude.
Like literally, like not one single like. Even the mints that I've been chewing on are the xylitol mints. You know.
Yeah.
And it's weird, dude. Like the thought of eating food right now is like repulsive. About that jug life. Jug life. No one's got time to carry around these freaking bottles everywhere. So we were talking about this. Topic of what people's income is. Like, what's their average, or what's their adjusted gross income, their AGI, and their tax return. What's their income? Because a lot of these people that we see online and on social, we often wonder, or I often wonder, TJ, I don't know if he wonders, but I often wonder, like, I wonder how much they made last year. Because you see these people and they put on this front, they put on this facade of they're doing extremely well. But I often wonder, like, sometimes when I see some of the content, or sometimes when I talk to some of them, I'm like, I don't know, something's missing. Like, I don't know. Like, if you told me 75,000, or if you told me 750,000, or if you told me 1.75 million, I'd be like, that checks out. Like, makes sense. So we were talking about with the Breadwinner podcast, like the potential of what if the first question of the podcast interview was, all right, first question, what was your adjusted gross income on your tax return in 2017? I think it'd be interesting to see the feedback on that question, to gauge the response to that question. I mean, obviously, after doing it a couple of times, people would, hopefully have watched an episode and would come to expect it. But those first few times, I feel like it really catch people off guard. And I think there's a lot that you can learn about a person, not in what their income is. Like, my concern is not in what the income level is. I just wonder I just like to see how someone reacts to the question. Do they immediately fire it off? Do they know? That's a great indicator.
The
of
question
kind of,
behind the question.
yeah, the question behind the question. QBQ. It's not just the answer. The answer is one part of it, but it's also how they answer it. And so it's, do they know like 656,000? Like that's what mine was last year. Like under that number, 656,000. Because that was like a number that like I was tracking, right? And it may be a really terrible way to start off a conversation if it goes bad, because then the rest of it can be really awkward. Maybe it's something to end with. But the reason I bring this up is I think people need to be cognizant of the fact that what you're seeing on social media may not be what's that line item on the tax return that person is filing. Like, you may see someone flying in private jets and driving crazy cars and going on crazy vacations and going on big masterminds and like a bunch of different things that would appear as the symptom of a wealthy person, but may not necessarily be a wealthy person. It may be someone that's spending every last dime, every last piece of debt that they can possibly collect to be able to live that lifestyle. And I don't disagree with that to some extent, in someone that knows the people that they want to associate themselves with and have around them, the people that they want to be able to have in their sphere of influence. Like if they need to do certain things, go to certain events, live a certain lifestyle to be able to, like, I'm not completely against that whatsoever. But I think it's just interesting. I think it's interesting. And I think that's one of those things where you like, so you can say like, okay, that's interesting. Right, wrong, or indifferent, good, bad, crazy high, crazy low, about what you thought. It's just interesting to see how people react to it.
So I have a good
Yes,
example.
I love it. Is this a TJ tip from the whip?
Not even a tip from the whip, but just like, so it's several
Is this
things.
a TJ tip from the brain?
So several things. I first off know that in this episode, haters are going to be in the comment section of this one just by bringing up that topic, because they might completely...
You mean haters that aren't making a solid income?
Yeah, no, but just
wanna be
even some people who make a lot of money but then feel it's politically like incorrect, and they might do that.
I
So
found
that's
though
the
that
thing.
most people that are actually making a lot of money
Yeah.
are very, very open with it and are
Yeah.
very non-apologetic about their income. I feel like it's the ones that are pretending to that are the only ones that are going to have a problem.
Yeah, so that's just, so I was gonna say, let's save that for let's save that for later. But okay. So
Sorry, I'm derailing.
one example of like what you were talking about just now about like people, like they'll be on a private jet or something like that. I have this one friend. He's on. He's not. He doesn't watch this, but even if he did, like, he knows who he is. Right? He
knows who he is. He's
he
self-aware.
goes and if you go to his profile, you'll see him going in and out of private jets on his profile, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him, so how do you go on a private flight all the time? And he looks at me and he tells me, you know what the secret to it is?
Working at the airport.
Working at the no. So he did go on a private flight, right? His father had booked a private flight. His father's incredibly
Awesome.
rich.
That's awesome.
And so what he did was he brought 10 pieces of clothes with him.
That's awesome.
And then just took a bunch of different photos of him walking in and out of the plane with the different pieces of clothes. I think it was like he brought like 3 jackets and then 3 shirts
know
and then
this
like
person?
2 pants. You do not know.
Okay.
You do not know. I'm not going to say his name or anything.
I wouldn't. I definitely wouldn't.
But that's just an example of kind of what you're talking about.
It's 100% example. But my thing too, though, is like, and how old category, age range?
So he's my age. So I'm
Okay.
20, but this was
24.
last year, so he would have been 22 or 23.
So like I'm like, number one, I'm cool with him taking a photo in a plane. Like, I don't know about the 10 photos, and then using those to portray.
He's portraying
an
the
image.
lifestyle,
Yeah.
like very clearly portraying the lifestyle that he makes far more than he does.
One distinction that I want to make though is I do not have any problem in a parent paying for lavish things for their kids if they can afford it, because like that's one thing I hate when people bash on, like oh, like so and so, his dad owns this company and makes all this money and he's got you know, he's in high school, and like, why does he need 2 cars in high school? Like, why does any high school kid need a, you know, brand new G-Wagon? I'm like, because his dad freaking worked his butt off to be able to provide that for his family, and if he can afford it, then he should be able to afford that for his family. Like, I hate when people hate on people that like just are wealthy, come from money, as though that's like some terrible thing. But what that is certainly trying to portray a lifestyle that person has not.
Yeah, like he's an adult, so he's implying that he made the money.
Yeah.
Like, again, I have no problem, and I've flown with him in the with him in the plane. So like, if I were to say like, screw you for using that plane, I'm screwing myself because I've been in the plane.
Yeah.
So another aspect of it is actually just when you're at work, like it's a really important thing about talking about how much you actually make, because a lot of people, they get screwed over at the workplace.
Talking about like amongst coworkers?
Yeah, amongst coworkers, don't know how to assert themselves. Let's say they know for a fact that they have a coworker who does the same productivity, or they do better. They know for a fact they do better than the coworker. They still might not get the compensation they might want to get, just because they haven't just asked their if they were to find out that, hey, this other person who significantly does less than they do is making the same amount of money, right? Then they can take action on it, because it'll trigger something within the body of being like, wait, this is bullshit. And then they'd go and they'd be able to take that action. But because of that stigma of talking about how much you make, they might not ever do that. And so there's a lot of people missing out on a lot of money just because they never asked the question. But if they did ask the question, they would have that charge in themselves.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the, God, why is this second freaking exit that I've missed? This thing is just like, and now we're in traffic. I just missed 2 exits. And now I think we're about to hit the worst traffic. This was a really bad move. No, we're only 9 minutes away from Midtown. Man, I think there's a very interesting dynamic within the corporate world, and we had a guest on the Sales Wolves podcast one time, a guy by the name of Jeremiah Dew, or J Dew, if you live in Greenville. He's like kind of a local celebrity. The guy's incredible. And man, J Dew said something that blew my mind on the podcast. He talked about being in the corporate world, and he was in a position where he was putting in a ton of effort, a ton of work, a ton of hours, more than the other people, and you know, he was getting these minuscule bonuses. It was like, you know, each year it was like an increase of like, you know, a 2% raise, like, you know, congrats, here's an extra like 700, you know. It was very minuscule in terms of like the raise, in the increased performance that he had put in, the increased revenues that the projects that he was working on were generating, and then what that position was then increasing for his opportunity. He said something extremely profound that I've never heard. He said he didn't understand the game, and he was hating on the player being like his boss, but he didn't understand the game, because the game was, as a W-2 salary employee, as a member of a corporation, as a member of a business, you are only worth not what the job that you're doing, you are worth what the job is worth. What is that job worth? What can you be replaced by somebody else to do the exact same job that you're doing? So a job has a worth, like whether it's a janitor, whether you're a salesperson at a certain level, whether you're inside sales, outside sales, where you're an account manager, or a executive assistant, you know, whatever that may be, there is a price tag on what a employer deems that career to be worth. And it doesn't matter how many hours that you're putting in. If they can find somebody else to go do what they need done in that position for a certain amount of money, that's what it's worth. And when he made that realization, he's like, yep, that's when everything changed. And that's when he became an entrepreneur and was like, I will never get stuck in that system again, to where I'm not being paid for what I'm worth. I'm being paid for what the job I'm doing is worth. Which is very interesting, that concept. But I think that's what he said. He said, I was hating the player, but I didn't understand the game. Not hating the game, like the old, man, this just does not feel right. Evasive maneuvers, going off-road. 3 days, my first meal in 3 days. But I want to do a 6-egg omelet, old-fashioned style, griddle, and I want to do grilled chicken
Chicken in the oven. What else in the oven?
and cheese,
Just chicken and cheese.
and that's it.
Any grits, hash browns, or toast?
I'm gonna do 2 sides of bacon though.
You want 6 strips of bacon?
Yeah.
On the side, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And same ticket or separate?
Same.